Real quick, before we get into the goodness, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you're notified to every time we upload a video. Appreciate you. The Sound of Freedom, a movie based on real events talking about the world of human trafficking, particularly the trafficking of children. You would think, and as I say that, I catch myself, you would think that this is something that we can all get behind. No agenda, no left or right, protecting children worldwide is something that every decent person can get behind. But as I said a moment ago, I caught myself and reflected upon my previous segments, my previous videos, talking about how they are after our children, and those that stand up in defense of the children are vilified. So why should this movie be any different? It's not. People in the mainstream media have gone above and beyond to discredit this movie in every way possible. They've called it a faith-based movie. It's not. They have called it a conspiracy-filled and based movie. It's based on actual events. They've called it QAnon and right-wing propaganda. I had no idea that human trafficking isn't real, that it's all made up in our minds and in our heads. Someone should tell those people that were just arrested in DFW a couple of months ago that you're arrested for no good reason. I mean, I know we picked you up for human trafficking and child pornography, but apparently it's all fantasy. This is overtly disgusting. And when I started hearing and seeing all the negativity coming towards this film, I initially got enraged. But I had to back up, take a breath, and try to find the upside of this horrendous bullshit. The upside is this. It's best summed up by Maya Angelou.
When people show you who they are, believe them. Yes.
Y'all do understand that, right? That when someone tells you, shows you who they are, believe them. I appreciate all these media people coming out and absolutely dragging this movie based on nothing. Grace Randolph, to me, being the biggest culprit in this when she said that it's nothing more than QAnon conspiracy-filled fantasy.
So many of you over the past couple of days have been like, why aren't you covering Sound of Freedom? Why isn't Sound of Freedom getting more coverage in the press overall? And you know, it's very conspiracy theory-like. It's not complicated. It's because of its relationship to right-wing conspiracies. That's the whole reason that it isn't getting any traction. Sound of Freedom is uncomfortably close to several right-wing conspiracies and the associated groups. And the movie has been politicized by the far right, not only with accusatory statements of, oh, this isn't why it's getting coverage because it's some kind of conspiracy theory. Just people don't want to be anywhere near that. And then also religious groups and far-right organizations have been buying up a large number of the tickets, not just to give out for free, you know, because they care about the film, they want to spread the message, et cetera, but clearly to also bump up that box office. So that's actually not a legitimate box. I mean, it is legitimate in that amount of money was made, but it didn't sell that number of tickets. It didn't entice that number of people to do it.
That's all this movie is. Those are her words, not the statistics that show how horrible child trafficking is, how many children go missing, and how few are actually recovered. How many are in the pike and the pipeline being trafficked right up under our noses from America to Saudi Arabia. All the news articles and rags that are destroying it, they are the same rags that printed positive articles about the movie Taken. Y'all know that badass Liam Neeson movie where his daughter goes overseas and her friend are kidnapped and put into a human trafficking ring, and he goes to go find her before it's too late? Oh, they praised that movie. Nothing but glowing reviews, glowing praise. Excellent movie. The story is superb and blah, blah, blah. It shows the dedication of a father and blah, blah, blah. You know how the shit went. But that was fantasy. The Sound of Freedom is the same story, but based on true events, and they hate it. You must ask yourself at this point, why? Why do they hate it this much? Why are they trying so hard to get people to not see this film? Indulge me for just a moment. There is a story about an atheist and a believer, and they go back and forth with one another. The atheist is trying to tell the believer there is no such thing as God. The believer is trying to tell the atheist that God is everywhere and in everything. Well, they have come to a deadlock in trying to convince each other. So they make a deal. They find an individual who is neither an atheist or believer, and each person gets a set amount of time to try to convince them of their belief, God or no God. The atheist went first. He took this man and he showed him all the science, all the wonders, how everything can be explained through laws of nature, physics, and how science rules the world, how aerodynamic design allows metal to soar through the air. He shows the science of reproduction and procreation. He shows him all the hard facts and scientific evidence to prove there is no God. It can all be explained by man, science, and nature. He was teaching this neutral man this for days. And when it came time for the believer to talk to the neutral man and make his case, the neutral man looked at the believer and told him, I believe in God. The atheist was shocked as well as the believer. And the man of God asked this neutral man, after all that he has shown you, what made you believe in God? The neutral man turned to the atheist and said, because anyone working that hard to prove that there's nothing there means that there is something there. That's what we have going on with the mainstream media. They're working so hard to discredit this because they know that that movie is telling the truth about a lot of things. Because one of the biggest things in this movie, the way that the human trafficking is able to work and continue, is that there are some very powerful people in some very powerful positions that protect it, fund it, and even partake in it. You don't have to take my word for it. Let's ask Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, wait, I forgot. He hung himself. You know, the guy that ran the island with all the children there. Yeah, him. Who had a list of very high-end clientele. You know, that guy. That his client list never came out. You see, this movie talks about that. It hints on that. It touches on that. And those are the same people who are pulling the strings to get this movie discredited. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just a logical conclusion. How can you praise a movie like Taken that is completely based in fantasy and absolutely hate a movie, The Sound of Freedom, that is based solely on truth? Maya Angelou said it. You are showing yourselves to be exactly who you are. I thank you. Now I know who all you sick f***s are. Hey, I hope you have enjoyed that YouTube exclusive video. That is a small segment from our podcast, Free Mind Thinkers, which can be found on all places that you may download your favorite podcast, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and any place else you choose to download your podcast. If you want to see Rumble exclusive videos, you can check us out over there, where you have exclusive content from the shows as well. Until the next time, remember to stand up, stand out, think differently.